Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2023 Municipal Candidate Forum for the town of Nags Head, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dare County. My name is Courtney Gallup. I am the coordinator for this forum. I'd like to begin by thanking you all for coming, as well as thanking the candidates for participating in this event. I do want to let everyone know that we are videotaping the event this evening via Ray of Light Video Productions, and the tape will be available on the League of Women Voters website as well as on Current TV. We've been given a broadcast schedule, which you can take on your way out, giving the air dates for all of the forums. The League of Women Voters is celebrating its 103rd anniversary, and we're so proud to continue this tradition of bringing candidates and voters together in a way that empowers voters. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce tonight's moderator, League of Women Voters member Amanda Hooper.
Thank you, Courtney, and thank you all for being here. Good evening. I'm a member of League of Women Voters of Dare, and I live in Collington. The League is a nonprofit, nonpartisan political organization. It encourages informed and active participation in all levels of government, works to increase understanding of major public policy, influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League maintains a strict, nonpartisan policy. It neither endorses nor opposes any political party or candidate. The League participates in a positive campaign project and has requested that each candidate tonight take the Code of Campaign Ethics pledge. We prohibit campaigning or campaign literature in the forum room. Please turn off your cell phones or electronic devices. Texting is prohibited. The League members participating tonight are our greeters, Robin Hideman and Tony DiBonaro, question reviewers, Nancy Birondelli and Audrey Esposito, and our timekeeper tonight, Lorelei DiBonero. We encourage a lively and respectful discussion. If you think of a question during the forum, please raise your hand. One of our staff will hand you a question card. Please include your name and town of residence and/or business. Anonymous questions will not be asked. I would now like to introduce the Town of Nags Head candidates. There are 2 commission seats up for election on November 7th, and there are 4 candidates on your ballot. Present this evening are Kevin Brinkley, incumbent, T. Mike Morrison, challenger, Megan Lambert, challenger, and Keith Sawyer, challenger. The format for tonight's forum. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. The timekeeper will signal when the candidate has 30 seconds remaining. The timekeeper will stand if the candidate continues past the allotted time. Don't let her hit you. Next, candidates will respond to questions from the audience. Questions were either submitted prior to the forum by voters, or they may be submitted during the forum. They are signed with their town of residency or business location. League reviewers have reviewed and will review questions for clarity and to avoid duplication. We believe this procedure affords the greatest variety of subjects to be covered in the allotted time. If your question is asked and credit is not given to you, it simply means you are one of many who wanted to hear this response. The League advocates, I'm going to back up for a second. I will read the question as written and identify the submitter. The League advocates positive campaign practices, and we reserve the right to admit any question that is viewed as a personal attack. Questions may be addressed to a specific candidate or all candidates. Questions directed to a specific candidate may be answered by any candidate if desired. 2 minutes are allotted for the responses. The timer will signal when the candidate has 30 seconds remaining and stand if the candidate goes over the time allotted. Opportunities will not be extended to those who initially pass on a question. Candidates cannot follow up After their initial 2-minute response, only one statement is allowed per question. Finally, each candidate is entitled to a 2-minute closing statement. Before we started, candidates drew numbers to establish the order for their opening statements. We will reverse that order for our closing statements. We will begin with the opening statement from Keith Sawyer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to see that everybody is here tonight and is looking forward to participating. I'm a local guy, been here for a long time, and I'd like to see things changed. I'd like to lower taxes, and I'd like to better the community. I want to serve the community. I want to serve for the board of Nags Head. I want to serve for the people and the community. I want to be your vote. I want to be your voice. I want to hear your complaints. I want to be able to be the one that touches on those subjects and try to reach a settlement or agreement that all the community can agree upon, not just one sector of the community, but I want to better the community in which we all live, work, and live in. Thank you for your participation coming out tonight. Look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we will hear from T. Mike Morrison.
Good evening. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for putting this on for us. Thank you, the audience, for attending. First and foremost, I want to clear up one thing, and that's T. Mike. I've been asked, when I walked in here, I am asked all the time. My name is Timothy Michael. I came from a family of 8. My father was famous at giving names. Mine was T. Mike. He didn't like Timothy Michael. It was too much for him to say. When I was baptized, he nicknamed me T. Mike. I have been T. Mike since I have been baptized. Thank you. I live at 329 Villa Dunes Drive with my wife of 41 years. 2 of my children grew up here, Joshua Michael and Carly Michelle. Josh is a firefighter like I was in Fairfax. His wife, Catherine, is a school teacher, and they have 3 lovely children, Molly, Lila, and Gavin. Carly, my daughter, grew up here. She did very well. She is a doctor in Virginia Beach right now, and she has 3 boys, Jameson, Easton, and who's the older? Owen. I am a retired firefighter from Fairfax County. I moved to the Outer Banks, specifically Nags Head, 28 years ago when I was selected to be the fire chief of this town. I moved down here and became the fire chief, and before that, we had been vacationing down here many times. We were going to move down here no matter what. We love the place, and love it even more now that I've been here 28 years. But anyway, we came down here, built our home, and have had one of the most marvelous experiences in my life to live in Nags Head. We're all blessed to live here. We really are. I am in real estate now, but I was a fire chief, and when I left there, I went to Kill Devil Hills, and I was the ocean rescue director there for 14 years. Now I work in real estate, and I enjoy it. I have a list in my office of over 20 people that have left here to go to St. Thomas, St. Croix, Puerto Rico. They're all back. They're all back. That's how special this place is. It is spiritual. It offers unbelievable amounts of opportunities to do whatever. And I just thank the good Lord I ended up here. I appreciate the fact that I have an opportunity to run. There was an opening. I would not have run for this office if Renee Cahoon was still running for this office. She has put 32 great years into our town, much appreciated. I got to work with some of the finest that we've had in our town. Bob Mueller was mayor when I was here. And there are a lot of other people. But anyway, thank you very much for this opportunity to be able to communicate with you.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we will hear from Kevin Brinkley.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I like to try to talk fast so I don't get the paddle, so I'm going to try to move along. But thank you all for coming out. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this on. My name is Kevin Brinkley. I was born in Craituck County, where my mom and dad were both deep-rooted there. I was raised in Manio, went to Manio High School. After high school, I did 2 years of college, and I wanted to follow in my father's footsteps and be a law enforcement officer. I came to the town of Nags Head and spoke to the chief then, and he gave me an opportunity as a 20-year-old. He told me if I give 2 years to the town of Nags Head, that he would send me through the police academy and pay me while I was going. So 4 months later, I came back as almost a 21-year-old, and I was a police officer in the town of Nags Head. 28 years later, I retired from this great town. The last 9 years, I served as your police chief. Nags Head has a special place in my heart. Both of my girls were raised here in Nags Head. My wife and I live in Nags Head Acres now. We're very blessed to be here. People ask me, why did you retire if you wanted to get right back in and work with the town of Nags Head? Well, it was time for me to retire. I enjoyed it, but it was time for someone else to do it. But what I really like is working with the people and for the people. And I know that's what my role is in this. For the last 4 years, I've had a great time talking to people where you give me your opinions, you give me your suggestions. Sometimes the best ideas that we have in government don't come from within, it comes from outside. And that's what makes this so important. So I am seeking re-election. I hope to have your support and look forward to your questions this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we will hear from Megan Lambert.
Hi, my name's Megan Lambert, I should have said. My husband Jason and I have lived on the Outer Banks for the last 20 years. We've been stoked to call Nags Head our home for the last 12 of those. We own and operate 2 ice cream shops, Beauty Treats. We opened the first one in Nags Head 15 years ago. We also have 2 children. Our youngest is our 4-year-old daughter named Chloe, and our oldest is our 11-year-old son named Kai. So why am I wanting to run for commissioner? That's probably the big question. I want to run for commissioner because I believe I have the passion and the experience to make a positive impact on our town. I've spent the last 7 years serving our town as a steward, and it started in 2016 when my home and my business flooded in Hurricane Matthew. It was a big deal for us. It took us about 6 months to recover before we could even move back. And at that time, I found myself at a crossroads. I was very upset, and I realized I could stay very upset or I could get very involved. And I decided that I was going to get very involved. So I started serving on the Stormwater Committee. Shortly after that, I started serving on our planning board. I still currently serve on the planning board today as vice chair. I also started serving on our Septic Health Committee last year. I think that serving on these committees and the planning board has given me a lot of experience and a lot of time working with the town, and also a lot of feedback from our residents. And I've used that time and that feedback and that experience to come up with 3 priorities that I feel resonate within our town needs. My first priority is I want to develop more proactive engagement between our town staff and our business owners and our residents. I also want to apply that same principle to how we deal with our neighboring towns. I want to develop strategic partnerships so that we can work with our other town leaders and come up with big solutions to the big problems we're facing right now. Secondly, stormwater infrastructure and septic health. I want to look at our current needs, but also look 10, 20 years ahead down the road. Thirdly, I want to honor and preserve Nags Head now and for our future. I want to stay resistant to big development in Nags Head. I think that my priorities help show what my experience is with Nags Head, but it also gives you an idea of what to expect from me as your next commissioner. Look, I'm not trying to fast track to this role. I feel that I've put in the time over the last 7 years to learn as much as I possibly can. I am a firm believer that actions speak louder than words, and I know that the actions that I've put in the last 7 years back up the words that I'm saying here tonight. I also think that it provides something else, and that's a track record. And that's a track record for you guys to know who I am, what I've done with the town, and what you can expect from me in the future. And I think that track record is a very valuable tool when you're trying to decide who to vote for. Thank you so much for letting me speak tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. I'd also like to thank the League of Women's Voters for hosting this. I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm really excited to get started.
Thank you, Megan. Now we will have questions from the audience. We've staggered the order of our responses to ensure impartiality. First question is from David Elder, a resident of Nags Head. While everyone has life experience, what recent condition or situation brought you to become a candidate? How are you uniquely qualified for the board and for my vote? Please let me know if you need me to repeat a question. We'll start with Kevin Brinkley.
And that was right. Say it one more time, please.
Sure. While everyone has life experience, what recent condition or situation brought you to become a candidate? How are you uniquely qualified for the board and for my vote?
Thank you, Mr. Elder, for the question. 28 years working in local government, and then the last 4 years being one of your elected officials, I know the town of Nags Head. I know the budget. I know the processes. I'm uniquely familiar with that. So that's main reason. But the other one is I still have the passion to serve. I know I've been here for 4 years, but I would like to serve another 4 years for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for your questions. I'm an open book, and I just want to, I think I'm in that position that I can continue to serve and represent you in the way that needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next is Keith Sawyer.
Would you repeat the question one more time for me?
Absolutely. While everyone has life experience, what recent condition or situation brought you to become a candidate? How are you uniquely qualified for the board and for my vote?
To begin with, I served on the Beach Nourishment Committee the first time around in 2011. I also served on the Beach Nourishment Committee the second time around. And I've seen the development of the beach nourishment take hold, and how it took hold, and how we had to deal with the tax issues, and how we had to collect the money for the tax issue. As far as the budget is concerned, I don't have the knowledge of the budget, but I deal with a budget of over $1 million every year. I also have my own company. I have an owner services company. I have an independent claims business, and I deal in millions of dollars every year and seeing what the issues are. My experience has been with soil and water, water management, soil science, crop production, landscaping, and construction. So when you look at the factors of what goes on in the town and seeing where our situation are and how the community is building up, we need to stop the building. We need to slow it down. There needs to be less density instead of more density. And that will help improve our water quality, water drainage, surface water, storm water, and the management of it. And that would qualify me to handle the large numbers that we're going to have to deal with in the future to come.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we will hear from Megan Lambert.
Well, when I started, I talked about how we flooded in Hurricane Matthew, but that brought me to want to serve. That didn't bring me to want to run for commissioner. But after serving on the planning board and after serving on our septic health committee, that's what brought me to wanting to run for commissioner. I've seen the difference and the impact I can make on the planning board, and I want to continue to do that as your next commissioner. To be honest, I don't think I would be qualified or ready for this role without the experience I have from the planning board. The planning board has afforded me the opportunity to understand our zoning regulations more. It's helped me understand our building code more and why it's so important to our infrastructure. And I can't imagine running for this position without that experience behind me. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Lastly, we'll hear from T. Mike Morrison.
An experience that brought me to run for commissioner. Basically, being a firefighter and the fire chief in Nags Head, I got to meet a lot of people in this town, see them at their worst times, and take care of them. When there were 2 positions open, I was like always wanting to serve this town. I was fortunate enough to be the fire chief, and I live here, and I saw an opportunity to come back and help the people of Nags Head. I've been blessed all my life to be able to take care of people in the emergency service work. I want to take care of the people of Nags Head. I want to listen to them. I want to learn from the past commissioners, from the past mayors that I've worked with. I've learned a lot from. I would take from their experience and move forward. The Board of Commissioners of Nags Head right now is fantastic. They have handled situations that were very difficult and did a very, very professional job doing it. I'd like to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we have a question from Molly Harrison, a resident of Nags Head. What do you think is the most important issue the town is facing? We'll start with Keith Sawyer.
I think the number one issue that the town is dealing with right now, it has to do with the stormwater issue it's been a major issue for years, and the infrastructure within the town itself. I think if we get back to where we're working towards fixing our infrastructure, then we can work on correcting our stormwater management process at the same sense. That also helps towards the health and safety of our residents, year-round residents. We have to address that main issue, which is the infrastructure. And until we get that infrastructure back in place to where it needs to be, we can't sustain the number of people that are coming to Nags Head. This is a beautiful place to live. It's a beautiful place to work. It's a beautiful place to relax and enjoy life. And I'm in my latter days, and I enjoyed my time. So I enjoy working, and I enjoy working for the people.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we will hear from T. Mike Morrison.
We're always going to have issues. And what is the most pressing issue that I feel right now? The commissioners have taken care of a lot, but right now we have a major traffic issue in this town. We have a lot of traffic. We can't make left-hand turns in the middle of summer. We just can't do it. The commissioners have talked with DOT trying to get, and I believe they're installing a new system on the lights that they're going to be coordinated and hopefully will flow the traffic through Nags Head more. But for public safety, we have got to make sure that we handle the traffic that is upon us now. I mean, we had a big boom. We had a lot of people move down here. And we have a major traffic problem on that bypass, and it is a safety issue.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we will hear from Kevin Brinkley.
Ms. Harrison, thank you for your question. And as I was sitting here thinking about it, I think Nags Head is in a really good position. Nags Head's not broken. We've got a great town. But as I'm sitting here tonight, what I would tell you is multifamily or workforce housing. The board that I currently serve on eliminated multifamily from one of its allowed uses earlier this year. But each of one of the commissioners, me included, said that we would put that back into it as an allowed use. That's something we need to do. But how we put it back in there is going to make a difference on are we able to get a multifamily project that fits with Nags Head. In addition to that, just that in itself is not going to solve our affordable housing or workforce housing problem. I think we've got to be creative in ideas. How can we look at people that had done short-term rentals or Airbnbs? How can we bring them back into to do a year-round rental? How can we get when we put multifamily back into our ordinances, can we have incentives for a developer that we half the water tap bill or the building permit fee? How can we give them incentives to put something in place where people, we have workforce housing? And also, there's plenty of examples in the country where you can deed restrict these places where they're for people that work in the community. I think this is one of the issues right now, and I think it's not facing just Nags Head. It's everywhere in Dare County, but it's all across our country as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we'll hear from Megan Lambert.
Thank you. That's a tough one for me. I do think Nags Head is in a great position, but we do have issues that we need to talk about. And for me, it would be almost a dead tie between stormwater. I think that our stormwater, we have made great strides in stormwater for Nags Head. Our budget has gone from when I first started working with the town, it was $230,000. Our budget in 2016 and our budget this year is $2.9 million. So we've made a lot of progress in stormwater, but I do not believe we're there yet. We have projects, we have a shovel-ready project that's getting ready to start in South Nags Head that they gravely need. I think South Nags Head, I'm hoping we'll see more work down there. And we have a project that just got approved by the board to accept a bid in Old Nags Head Place. But again, I do not believe we're there yet. And I think it's going to take our commissioners constantly keeping stormwater front and center, and no pun intended, being willing to pump money into it, because it is a priority. And stormwater, I tie it into septic health too, because stormwater and septic health are very much connected, and they're ultimately connected to our water quality in Nags Head. Nags Head is outfall dependent, so if we don't have proper stormwater infrastructure and success in stormwater maintenance and success in septic health, we do not have good water quality. I think that that is a huge issue for Nags Head. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention workforce housing and long-term housing. That is a big issue in Nags Head. It's a big issue everywhere, especially with the bill that passed 2 weeks ago. And we cannot ignore it. But I don't think it's something we're going to solve on our own. I've said it in my campaign throughout, and I'll sound like a broken record by the end of tonight, but I know we work better together. I believe we work better together, and I think we need to work with our other towns on this issue to come up with real solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Now we have a question from the league. Do you think that municipal governments can impact the low-cost housing shortage along the Outer Banks, and how?
Say it again.
Sure. Do you think that municipal governments can impact the low-cost housing shortage along the Outer Banks, and how? First, we'll hear from T. Mike Morrison.
Yes, I believe government can help. There are many issues that need to be addressed, not just one, when we're talking about affordable housing and or workforce housing. To me, we need to address affordable rent for our workers. Back in the day, all of us, when I was running with the lifeguards, one of our main things we had to do was find housing for our lifeguards. So we would go to people and ask them if they would allow them to live there for a rent fee. We even purchased houses back then to put lifeguards in. Then all of a sudden, our long-term rentals, the people own the houses decided, instead of making $500 a month, I can make $500 a week doing Airbnb. And there went our long-term housing on the beach, and it went into Airbnb. I think that trend is starting to turn the other way. I think people are realizing that maybe they didn't make the right decision, that it's a lot more work, cleaning, maintaining, collecting money on a weekly basis when you could have rented it out on a monthly basis. That would help, hopefully, get our long-term rentals for our workforce. I believe that what we're doing right now, the county has come out on the bill that Megan's talking about, where they are trying to strip local government's ability to be able to enforce their building codes. That's ridiculous. I don't know how that got in there. And everyone that I've talked to is furious about it. How did they put in in the budget bill that if you take money from the state and you build affordable housing, that you cannot regulate under your building codes, your height restrictions, your lot coverage, your setbacks? You can't do that? That's totally wrong. And I don't know who put it in there. I don't know why it got in there. I hope we find out, and I hope we remedy the situation. All the towns have sent letters of resolution to take care of this. We need to get together, make sure that that doesn't happen, that they do not take away the power of the town. And I would fight for that tooth and nail. Stop.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we'll hear from Megan Lambert.
Could you repeat the question just one more time? Sorry.
Absolutely. Do you think that municipal governments can impact the low-cost housing shortage along the Outer Banks, and how?
I do think they can impact it, but I think that, and I've said it before, I know that our towns need to work together more so than anything to have an impact on it. I believe that if our towns don't work together, we don't stand a chance on it. I don't think that it's a one-shot solution. I think that it's going to be a lot of solutions, and it's going to take a lot of thinking outside of the box. I also think we need to have community involvement in it as well. I don't want to just see leaders that hold office forming, like Dare County suggested on Monday, to form a task force that just involves leaders that hold office or a town planner. I also would like to see community involvement. I think it's really important that the community has a voice in it, because I am fearful that our communities won't want to participate in the solution if they don't get to be part of it and part of the planning stage of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we will hear from Keith Sawyer.
Can the municipalities support the low-cost housing? No, they can't. We don't have the infrastructure in order to be able to afford the low-cost affordable housing. The low-cost affordable housing in today's market, today's interest rate, can't be done. Not affordable housing. Not the average family cannot afford to pay a $4,000 mortgage payment every month. and pay taxes and insurance and keep up with the house, not in a coastal community. We don't have the land mass in order for the low-cost housing within the municipalities here. Can municipalities control that to some extent? I'd have to agree with T-Mike. Yes, they should be allowed to be able to regulate the size of the lot, size of the house, the height of the house for safety purposes and everything. But as far as low-cost housing, municipalities can't afford it. They have too many other issues at hand they have to take care of. The main thing, you got to get back to the infrastructure. There again, it all falls back to the infrastructure and the stormwater, the septic systems. We don't have the land. Megan's talked about this. I've talked about it. Everybody else has talked about it. Where's it all going to go? We've got to have a landmass somewhere that will support the low cost. The towns can't do it.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we will hear from Kevin Brinkley.
I'm gonna feel like I'm kind of repeating myself, but first of all, yes, we can. We can do that. The Nags Head Board is aware of the bill that was passed, obviously, and the Nags Head Board has taken certain actions to hopefully address that. Megan brought up about the county manager on the meeting on Monday or Tuesday. He asked to form a workforce housing. That is great, to form a task force for that. He initially had said that he just wanted a manager and a planner, I think, from the towns. He has since gone back on that and is asking for more involvement. He's actually going to reach out and go further. He's going to have people from the realtors, the restaurant association, a number of different groups coming together to hopefully come up with an idea collaboratively that we can work towards some solution, which I think is working together. But Nags Head, first of all, for us, is getting multifamily back in it. Planning Board is working diligently on that to add multifamily back to our allowed uses. But again, I think we have to have incentives for a project to be done, and then also address the people that are using the Airbnbs. My in-laws have 2 Airbnbs in KDH on the west side. One, the small one's doing good. The other one they put into a year-round rental, and they love it. I don't think they'll go back to Airbnb. So I think that's out there, and I think we, if we work with our residents, I think we can maybe address some issues there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. The next question we have is from the League. What do you think the use of Soundside Park site should be that benefits Nags Head citizens the most? We'll start with Megan Lambert.
Soundside Event Park, in my opinion, has been doing fantastic the way it is right now. I've heard a lot of feedback about Soundside Event Park, and the biggest thing I hear from everybody is we like our green space. We like our green space. And I have a hard time thinking about doing any sort of big development on that when I know that that's what everybody wants, myself included. Nags Head is very fortunate. We've done a very good job of making sure we've done things like Dowdy Park, and we've kept it green and we've kept it open. So anything, when we've talked about a convention center at Soundside Event Site, when there was talk of a hotel at Soundside Event Site, anything that we think about doing there, I think, one, we need to think of a way to keep it open and green. The events that have been going on there have been very successful, and I want to keep it open for that reason. But I also, anything that we put there or anything that gets developed there, I think it's really important to remember the impact it could have on our stormwater. If we develop that site, we have to make sure that it falls in line with Nags Head's building code and our regulations as well. If we don't, we could have serious impacts to our stormwater. And I'm not interested in doing a big convention center there, or seeing a big convention center there, or seeing a big hotel there, because ultimately that's not what the residents want, and I don't think that's what we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we will hear from Kevin Brinkley.
Thank you for the question. What a great site. When I think of that place, I think of back when I was growing up, there was, the Windmill Point Restaurant was on the south side, and then there was a roller skating rink with a ghost ship out in front of it. But when Nags Head had opportunity to acquire that land along with the Visitors Bureau, there was a vision there to have that space. And what other place in Nags Head can you go and you look out like that, except maybe on top of Jockey's Ridge, but to look out over there and see the sound. What if people want to go see the sunsets? Go there. That's what I tell my new neighbors that had visitors. Go see that place. So I like the green space. I did go to a presentation that the Visitors Bureau, Mr. Lee Nettles, presented at the event hall down here in Nags Head about some proposals. I haven't, as a board member, I haven't seen anything come, before us for consideration. But I think the site is being utilized. We're having some great events there. One of the biggest is the Outer Banks Seafood Festival that's getting ready to come up. So I think we need to be protective of that site, and anything that goes there, we need to keep in mind. People that I talk to, they like the viewscape. They like what you see. So anything that we do there, I think, needs to be low impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we will hear from T. Mike Morrison.
As you've heard from Megan and Kevin, it's a beautiful site. I've enjoyed it. A lot of us have enjoyed it. The Seafood Festival, the Jeep Jam. There's a lot of good things that go on down there. And I'm with Megan. I'd like to see it left alone. And Dowdy's Park, when I used to vacation down here, they had a Ferris wheel, a tilt-a-whirl, a scrambler, and the kids loved it. Well, we put a carnival down there on that site 1 week out of the year. I would like to increase that because I think it's much needed for the children, that when they come down here, they have that one night or two to look forward to going to a carnival, which we don't have. That left when Dowdy's Park left us. But that said, everything that they're doing, the site is just drop-dead gorgeous. It's gorgeous to go down there. The town, in coordination with the Nags Head Police, have done a tremendous job on traffic control and parking to make sure that it is handled adequately and safely. And I commend the town for doing that. And I would like to leave it alone and use it the way it is.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we will hear from Keith Sawyer.
I'm in agreement with all of my fellow members here. I think we need to leave the site like it is. I mean, it's a beautiful site. The sunsets are gorgeous. I mean, what more could you ask for? If you want to get away and just be by yourself and watch the sunset go down, what more can you ask? I mean, why do anything with it? Leave it like it is, The only problem that I see with it is the traffic. But there again, that's only once a week out of a year. So we can deal with that. So I say leave it well enough alone,
Thank you, Keith. Our next question comes from Bob Muller, a resident of Nags Head. Do you support the town's Todd D. Kraft Septic Health Initiative? Do you believe that on-site wastewater should be the town's long-term strategy for wastewater? We'll start with T. Mike Morrison.
So we're talking about the Septic Health Initiative, where we're dealing with our septic and we're trying to give people an incentive to maintain their septic tank, which helps maintain our groundwater. I think it's a great program. I think the committee that Megan and Bob have served on is fantastic. If you take care of your septic, you can get a credit towards your water bill. I think that's an incentive that is fantastic that the board has allowed. I think we need to continue more of that. I think when we're dealing with the septic tanks, there are a lot of septic tanks in Dare County. We have a lot. And as Megan's talked about with storm water, if we had a rain event, now I'm not talking about 1 to 2 inches, I'm talking about 6 to 10 inches of rain in a couple hours, we're going to have a lot of issues with our septics if we don't take care of them. So yes, I think that program is fantastic. I think that they're still moving forward to better it, and I commend them for it.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we will hear from Keith Sawyer.
I kind of agree. I think the septic system is working properly at present time. Could there be improvement? Sure. Anything can be improved upon. But there again, it takes time. Time takes money. So you have to look at it. What kind of rainfall we're going to have? How's it going to affect the groundwater? How's the stormwater affecting the groundwater? How often do we get 6, 8, 10 inches of rain in a year at one time? All of that goes back to the infrastructure. the infrastructure's in place to be able to handle the influx of personnel and people into the communities, then the septic system's got to be improved upon each and every time. So as long as we stay on top of it, and I think the program's great, as long as the homeowner agrees to everything, leave it alone.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we'll hear from Kevin Brinkley.
The Todd D. Kraft Septic Health Initiative, named after a former fellow worker of mine and friend here at the town of Nags Head. He was the first environmental planner, I think was his title then, for the Septic Health Initiative when this was put into place. This program leads the way in Dare County. It leads the way in the state. We're the only county, or the only town that does this. We have an employee that will come out and inspect your septic tank for free. If he can't do it, we have contractors that will come out and do it. If it needs to be pumped, they can recommend a list of people who can come and pump it. After you pump it, the town will give you a $150 credit on your water bill just for getting your septic tank pumped, and you can do that every 3 years. I mean, what a great idea. You can check to make sure it's working properly, get it pumped, and then get $150. What the town has recently adopted within the last 8 months ago was the decentralized wastewater management treatment plan, and it's a plan that kind of lays the future for septic health initiative. And out of that came the Septic Health Advisory Council, which I happen to sit on as the board liaison, and Ms. Lambert is there as well. And what we're able to do, because it's all tied into groundwater, you can tie that into stormwater. We were able to purchase groundwater monitoring, data loggers, water quality testing instruments. It's all important. Just because if the water's sitting up top, you want to make sure that it's, you want to test it. We want to test the water in the ground. So this program is second to none. My only wish, we're going to continue doing great things with it. We're going to do nothing but improve. My only wish is that the other towns will get on board as well and be as good as we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we'll hear from Megan Lambert.
I am very proud of the town's septic health initiative. It was initiated in the year 2000. And like Kevin said, it does offer amazing things. It offers you the free pump out, or the $150 water credit on your water bill when you do a pump out. We'll also locate your tank for you. Another really cool component about this program is if we come out and we find that your septic system is in repair needs or needs to be replaced, Nags Head will offer you a low interest loan. And that is imperative, because if we have a failing septic system, a failing drain field, that's not just the homeowner's problem. That is going to be the neighbor's problem. That's going to be a lot of people's problem and the town's problem ultimately as well. So this septic health initiative, in addition to offering pump outs, the low interest loan, locating your tank, I recently just ran into a couple the other day that had to have their tank pumped out and inspected and found out that their system did have to be repaired. And they did not have the budget to do it, but they used our low interest loan program to do it, and they were able to replace it. And they told me had that not been available to them, they would not have done it, and they would be waiting till next year when it was in their budget. So to me, that's just one of the many success stories I've heard about our septic health initiative. I serve on the septic health committee with Bob Mueller as well as Kevin, and I think that we do a lot of really great things there, but one of the biggest things that I've seen happen is we're picking up momentum with this, and I'm excited to see where we go with it over the next 3-4 years. But also, we have to remember that most of Nags Head is on septic, and except for the village, and septic is what keeps us resistant to big development. If we're on a sewer system, we would be much more able to handle big development. So I think septic health is very important, and I think that the septic health initiative helps not just take care of our septic needs now, but also thinks ahead down the road.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Susie Walters, a resident of Nags Head. If elected, do you promise to fight any and all efforts on the local and state level to make this Board of Commissioners partisan? Would you like me to repeat that? Okay. We'll start with Megan Lambert.
I do not think partisan politics has any place on our local board. Our Board of Commissioners deals with local issues that affect us immediately, and I don't think that we have the room or the time to enter anything else into our discussions. there's state level issues, there's federal level issues. I don't think on a federal level they're concerned about Nags Head stormwater, but I am, and I think that our board is. I do not see any way that I would want to see partisan politics on our board, and I would continue, as your next commissioner, not to allow it anywhere on our board. I don't think we have room for it. I don't think we have time for it, and we have real issues in front of us that affect us day to day, and that's our job as commissioners, and I don't want to ever, I think it's really important that we focus on our job at hand and we don't go off course at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next, who will we hear from? T. Mike Morrison.
I agree with Megan. You don't need parties involved in this local government. It should be partisan, and it is. And I think if we continue to do that and work together, that's the biggest thing. When you start to get into the political field of this party and this party, you end up attacking or working on that instead of working on the issues. And I think it's so important to work on the issues together and not even care. I don't care who you are, what party you're from. We need to work on issues for the town of Nags Head. That's the important thing right now. Not Dare County, not Kill Devil Hills, Nags Head. Nags Head's issues, and I think Megan made it very clear, coming together, working together as one team to solve every issue we can solve.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, who will we hear from? Keith Sawyer.
I'm in agreement with everybody. There doesn't need to be any partisan parties in local politics. We need to work together as a team, as a committee of commissioners, working together to solve the issues of the town of Nags Head. Not the federal issues, not the state issues, but our local committee, and our local town, so.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we'll hear from Kevin Brinkley.
This will be quick. Absolutely, without a doubt, partisan politics do not belong in municipal government, and I would fight tooth and nail to make sure that did not happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Our next question is a league question, and it is focused towards Kevin Brinkley. So I am officially out of order on my little random sheet here. If a Nags Head citizen requests to know the location of the license plate reading cameras, will the camera locations be disclosed upon request, or are they secret?
Not secret, they will be at each of the town lines. I'll say that tonight. It'll be easy. 158, entrance to the town. NC 12, entrance to the town. The Causeway at the Baum Bridge. Wellbone Junction, and Old Organite Road at NC 12, or Highway 12. That's, license plate readers, I guess I got my 2 minutes. I just will address that. License plate readers are used throughout Dare County. I was asked by former Mayor Muller, I think he was actually talking to Commissioner Sanders, and I happened to overhear it. Do we need license plate readers? License plate readers, it's the way of the future. It's technology that can be used. And what it can't be an officer just sit there and run somebody's license plate to see if they're going in and out of Nags Head. You got to have a case number to even look at the information that's gathered. If we have an armed robbery or a missing persons, and we know that it's a gray Toyota truck or a gray minivan, you can enter that into the search criteria. And yes, we've got a lot of those here, but it will give you a start on where, or give you an area to start at. They're already in use. They're throughout the county. Southern Shores, Duck, the Wright Memorial Bridge. They're here, and they're not being abused. They're really, really a useful tool for law enforcement, and I commend the league for asking that question because that's important, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Would anybody like to respond to that?
Yes. I think that this tool is going to be good in another fashion, that it's going to free up some of our staff to do other work. And I think that's important to make sure that we use the technology to move us forward, to make sure we can help law enforcement and free up some of their time to do other things that are important in the town.
Thank you.
I think it would be a help, too, for the EMS system of Nags Head, the fire and rescue divisions, especially if they're responding to a traffic accident somewhere.
You good? All right, our next question is from Cola Vaughn. I hope I got that right. A resident of Nags Head. What should the town of Nags Head do or continue to do to deal with the problem of sea level rise? Or do you not think this is of concern? We'll start with Keith Sawyer.
I don't think there's much that the town of Nags Head can do towards sea level rise. It's going to occur whether we want it to or not. We just have to be prepared to handle what takes place. How do we mitigate circumstances of the sea level rise? How are we going to handle the water when it comes in? What's the timing? There's different factors there. Is this something that we can actually do anything about? Not so sure that we can as far as environmentally wise is concerned.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we will hear from Kevin Brinkley.
You know, it's funny, 4 years ago, I was asked that question, and I was the last one to answer, and I just looked and I said, I don't know. I have no clue. But I'll certainly look into it and see what I could find out. So I have learned a little bit about sea level rise, and it absolutely is an issue, and Nags Head can and is doing stuff right now. When you think about sea level rise, it's just not, well, the water's coming up, but with that, it's also, you can tie in stormwater to it and water quality to it. The town recently adopted a shoreline estuarine management program, I guess they call it. My friend and colleague, Commissioner Sanders, sat on that board. And what it does, it looked at our estuarine shoreline along the Sound, and it looked at areas that over the last 70, 80 years, how much land that we have lost. And you'd be surprised about how much that we've lost. And if we continue to lose that, we're going to be in a world of mess. So this program looked at ways that we can help. And if anyone has ever heard of a living shoreline, you know, you got bulkheads, that's a hardened structure, but then there's stuff that you can put in front of that bulkhead that helps minimize the wave action, and it actually creates a living environment for other sea life. I never thought that I would know something about a living shoreline. Mr. Buxton talked to me about it several years ago, and now part of this estuarine management program. You know, it's exciting to see what came out of that study and the program that we adopted. They're looking to get grant funds to do these projects along our sound front. So yes, we are doing something about it and continue to do something about it. And again, I think Nags Head is leading in this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, we try not to say too many personal things, but I'm in the process of building a living seashore in Stumpy Point. Super
That's awesome.
excited about it. Next, we'll hear from Megan Lambert.
I do think that Nags Head is doing something about sea level rise. And as Kevin said, we are doing that with our Estuarine Shoreline Committee. We have 11 areas that we've noticed of concern with that, and there's 3 specific areas that we're focusing on right now, and we're hoping to receive the grant in Villa Dunes, the Harvey Beach access, or the Harvey Soundside access, as well as West Soundside Road. And that's one of those things where I think that we are capable of looking at stuff we can do for it. I think through different, when I think of bulkhead initially, I always just thought of, you know, concrete, something like that. And I've learned a lot through our shoreline committee of the different things that they can do for it. And I am really excited to hear when we find out if we do get that grant, so that we can see those 3 areas progress and find out what we have success in those areas, so that we can learn from it and apply it to the other 8 remaining areas that have been, that the Estuarine Shoreline Committee has identified. And so I'm excited to see what successes we have and how we can apply it to those as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we'll hear from T. Mike Morrison.
Yeah, I think there is things we can do about the sea level rise. Back to the soft stabilization versus hard stabilization. I took that class, and I learned how that you can use riprap and vegetation to go ahead instead of using bulkheads and concrete piers and things of that nature. So I think that really does help. I am not that knowledgeable about the rise of the sea compared to maybe what I could be in the future. So I'm not going to sit up here and say I know all about sea rise, because I don't. And like Kevin, one day I might learn.
Wonderful. Thank you, T. Mike. I'm going to apologize in advance for murdering this name. I'm going to do my best. This question is from Pra Ferentz, a resident of Nags Head.
Drew Ferentz.
Okay, Drew Ferentz, thank you. Thank you for correcting me. While canvassing in the various communities, meeting the residents, what new ideas are you hearing? What unique solutions are being suggested? We'll start with Kevin Brinkley.
People have talked to me probably more about workforce housing than anything. And they want to know where Nags Head stands and what we plan to do. Seems to be a continuing theme here. This is, I think, the third time I will answer, but I think I've said what Nags Head is trying to do. One suggestion that they had was sort of like what I said with the incentives. How can you get people that did short-term rentals, your Airbnbs and Verbos, to come back to doing a long-term rental? With that, I think there's got to be incentives for them to do that. And that's what I want the town to do, and I hope that we can develop those incentives in addition to getting multifamily added back into our allowed uses. Ms. Ferentz, thank you for the question.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we'll hear from Megan Lambert.
Could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. While canvassing in the various communities and meeting the residents, what new ideas are you hearing? What unique solutions are being suggested?
I've spent a lot of time canvassing over the last month or so, and I've heard a lot of, one of the coolest things that I've heard is people want to get involved. And when we've been talking about workforce housing and long-term housing, one of the biggest ideas that I hear is residents want to get involved. They want to have a voice in the matter. They've seen developments proposed, and they want to be more on the planning phase of it. And so I think that it's really important that we answer that call, and those community members that want to get involved, as we saw at the Dare County Commissioners meeting, there are community members that are concerned, they want to get involved, and there isn't one solution for workforce housing. So I think we really have to think outside of the box. And when our community wants to jump in and get involved, I think that's where we're going to find the really unique ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from T. Mike Morrison.
There's a couple issues that have come up. Recycling was a big issue. A lot of people are wondering about our recycling. You know, we used to have recycling throughout the whole town, and then that was taken away, and people are asking why or how can we get that back. And this is something I would have to talk to the board about. But back to, you know, the housing issue. There have been a lot of things talked about. Bob Mueller wanted to start this committee to where he put just people from the mayors and people from the planning board. And oh, did I say you?
Yes.
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah.
But Bob Woodard started this, and I think we need civilians and people from the businesses on that same task force. Malcolm Fearing has come up with a project. He wants to resurrect Buffalo City and put affordable housing and affordable rent over at Buffalo City. That's in Dare County. The land is over there. I think as a community, if we get together, that's an alternative. I think that I've been hearing a lot about that, and I agree with that.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we'll hear from Keith Sawyer.
What I hear from the communities is flooding, drainage, maintenance of our waterways, and the maintenance of them, as well as trash, recycles, and affordable housing. Always seems like me that's one of the #1 issues. How can we deal with affordable housing and the flooding and the water and drainage? That's the #2 topics that I get hit with every time I talk about something. And until something's done, that's going to be the #1 object to be faced with, is what are we going to do with all the water here? I mean, got to be able to manage it somehow or other. Also got to be able to manage affordable housing. And there is other places for affordable housing here in Dare County, not in the towns, you know.
Thank you, Keith. Our next question comes from Cola Vaughn, resident of Nags Head. What future problems will the town of Nags Head face with the potential of higher density development? We'll start with Megan Lambert.
I think Nags Head's done a very fantastic job of being resistant to big development and managing its density. If I'm successful in being your next commissioner, I plan to continue to manage that and hold the line on that. But if we did go into an area where we started allowing more density, or if the board were to see fit to do that, I think that we would face a lot of consequences from that, specifically in our stormwater and our septic health. When you add more density and lot coverage, you add more runoff, you add more burden to our septic and our stormwater infrastructure. And I think the consequences of that would be very severe. And that's why I don't want to see more density in Nags Head. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Keith Sawyer.
I kind of have to agree. I mean, we've got to slow the density down somehow, some way or another. I mean, there's too many issues there with the continuing of building close to one another and over-occupying of the rental homes. That's another big issue. I mean, when you over-occupy a house, that puts stress on our stormwater, puts stress on our septic systems within the houses and within the community. It just doesn't affect just one house. It affects the whole line of houses or that whole community of where those houses are at. We've got to slow that process down some way, somehow. And it's going to be a very tough problem that we're down in Nags Head going to be faced with in the years to come.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from T. Mike Morrison.
Can you ask the question again, please?
Absolutely. What future problems will the town of Nags Head face from potential increased higher density development?
We'll face a lot. I mentioned earlier about the traffic. Where are we gonna go? We don't have any land to build more roads or wider roads. What is gonna happen out there with traffic if we increase our density? What are we gonna do with our work staff? It's gonna tax them out, our firefighters, our police, running out here, Public Works, trying to take care of it. I just think that with Megan, we have got to control that density. And by controlling that density, and what we've done is, we've restricted lot coverage, we've made sure we uphold to our setbacks and our height restrictions, and this little thing they tried to sneak in that state budget would take that away from us. And so that's a serious issue we have got to look at. So increasing density is going to bring a lot of problems. And we need to fight the increased density, and we need to fight the state on this new bill they passed that is going to take away, local government control over what goes on in your town.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Kevin Brinkley.
I have 3 priorities about why I'm seeking reelection, and then I've also come up with some challenges that I think we face as our town. Each one of them, density or keeping Nags Head is in each one of those. Nags Head's a legacy. You can read from our legacy statement. We uphold our legacy by protecting and promoting our small town character that includes a sustainable local economy based on a family, vacation, tourism, a high quality beach experience, and small locally owned businesses. That's Nags Head. I haven't heard, how do I say it? Since I filed for reelection, I've paid more attention to it, I guess. But the people that come up to me, people that live in Kidover Hills, people that live in Kitty Hawk, Collington, Martins Point, and say, Kevin, you know what? Nags Head gets it. When you come down the beach road into Nags Head, you know that you're leaving the town to the north and coming into Nags Head. Nobody has come to me and said, Kevin, we need a Wawa in Nags Head, that we need an 18 gas pumps out there. No, nobody has said that. And I'm being serious when I say that. When you look at 30-some bedroom houses, no, not here. And I am proud that Nags Head does that. We don't have 13 houses on a 2-lot oceanfront and call it a cottage court. That's not Nags Head. So Nags Head is aware of density. I learned long ago. I've yet to hear anybody say, we need more density, Kevin. I mean, I'm waiting for it, but nobody said it yet. So Nags Head's going to continue to fight that. And if when I'm reelected, I will continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mead Gwynn, resident of Nags Head. Would the town consider purchasing the Village Beach Club and Nags Head golf links for public use? We'll start with T. Mike Morrison.
Tough question. I golf there all the time. It's a beautiful piece of land. not too far in the past, it was brought up when Club Corps owned it, that there was a possibility they were going to sell it and develop it. Back to the density question that Kevin just said. If the town would purchase that to preserve it, can we find the grants? You know, can we do what the commissioners did with Dowdy Park and that beauty that they took care of up there? Can we find the money to purchase that and keep it from being developed? If we can, yes, we need to do it. But that's a lot. That's a lot. I don't know where or how we could acquire that piece of land. And I like it the way it is because I like to golf there. Thank you.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we will hear from Kevin Brinkley.
How awesome would that be, Mr. Gwynn, for Nags Head to have that? I say that in that, the town gets approached quite often about, hey, I would like to sell you my piece of property, and the board considers each one of those options. We had a closed session yesterday that had to do with the acquisition of real property. So I can't imagine what that would look like. I mean, what a great idea. But I think money obviously would be a factor. But again, anything that is brought towards or to the town, the manager will certainly take it to the board for the board to consider. So I would encourage, if that's a possibility, and I will certainly pass it along to Andy, our manager, as well. But great question, Mr. Gwynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we'll hear from Keith Sawyer.
Would you repeat that question one more time?
Absolutely. Would the town consider purchasing the Village Beach Club and Nags Head Golf Links for the public use?
I wouldn't advise it. Because then you're opening it up to different interpretation as to what it could be used for. You're going to open it up to the public. Are they then going to want to take and turn it into condominiums, take away the golf course, take away the beauty there? Nah. I'd be against it.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we'll hear from Megan Lambert.
That is a very beautiful piece of property. I think I heard someone at the meeting yesterday mention that it was for sale for $20 million.
Right.
So it is a beautiful piece of property. I think that any purchase like that, I think it's a responsibility of the board members to make informed decisions. And before any decision like that would be made, or support for a decision like that, I would want to hear what our town staff recommendation was. I'd want to look at our budget and look at our priorities and find out where we could find that type of money. Grants is definitely a possibility, but that would be a lot of grant money. And our town staff last year alone applied for and received over $3.7 million in grants, which is incredible. But we've put that money to stormwater, we've put that money to other places, so I don't know if that would be the best decision. I think it would be amazing if the town could acquire it, but again, I would want to hear our town staff's recommendation on it. I'd want to talk to our finance officer and find out if that's something that the town could take on without burdening the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Our next question is from Rosemarie Dozier from the Outer Banks Realtor Association. How important do you feel it is to answer candidate surveys from local organizations? The realtors sent out 30 requests and have only received 18 responses. What is your reaction? We'll start with Kevin Brinkley.
I believe if you're running for public office or seeking to be reelected, I think you should answer the questions. I certainly completed mine and dropped it off at the OBAR's office here in Nags Head, and I'm really surprised that somebody is running for office or seeking reelection and does not take the time to fill out a form. I mean, they've got questions they want answered. If you want to serve the public, you better answer their questions. And that's disheartening to hear that somebody would not take the time to do that. You ought to be running for office, in my opinion. If you don't have enough time to do that, shouldn't run for office. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we'll hear from T. Mike Morrison.
I filled mine out. Yeah, I mean, we're up here and we want to represent the town and we want to work for you. This is a job interview. And in doing so, if an organization like OBAR, Outer Banks Association of Realtors, has questions, I think it's imperative that we answer those questions. And I think, you know, for the whole Dare County, we have to come together and solve these great problems that we have. And I'm with Kevin. If you didn't take time to fill out that survey, then you shouldn't be running for office.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we'll hear from Megan Lambert.
Yeah, I think that if you're running for office, if anybody, any business owner, any constituent takes the time to ask you a question, you really need to answer them. And you need to take the time and make sure it's thoughtful answers. And with that survey, they took the time to ask us a lot of questions. And I think it's really important that we take a lot of time to answer all of those questions that were asked, and I was proud to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we'll hear from Keith Sawyer.
I filled mine out. Whether or not they like my answers or not, it's another story to be told. But yeah, us as candidates, when we're asked a question, we need to have an answer, or at least look for an answer for our community that we're serving and that we want to serve for. So yes.
Thank you, Keith. This will be our last question for the night. This is a question from the League. What is your vision for the future of Nags Head, and how do we get there? We'll start with Keith Sawyer.
I think Kevin read the statement as to how our town should be. Family-oriented, a beach resort for our families to come and enjoy life. Not big stores, fancy stores, but local, family, community, get together, work, play, and live in a society where everybody works together towards one objective and try to solve the issues that we have at hand. Not try to solve the world's issue, but our community issues. How are we going to take care of our residents of our community? How can we serve them? How can we better serve them? And how can we be their voice for them?
Thank you, Keith. Next, we'll hear from Megan Lambert.
My vision for Nags Head is a place that we love to live and work, a place that welcomes visitors, a place that stays resistant to big development, that stays resistant to density, and a place that manages our stormwater infrastructure and our septic health at the same time, so that we ultimately have good water quality. Because if we don't have good water quality, we don't have a place that people want to live and work. We don't have a place that people want to visit. And I think that my vision for Nags Head is that we keep in line with the vision that we've been doing thus far. I think it's worked really well for us, and I don't want to change any of that. I want to honor that, and I want to preserve that now and for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we'll hear from Kevin Brinkley.
I'm going to read that legacy statement that I read earlier, but you get the picture. That's our legacy. How does that speak? I think that legacy is how we continue working for the for the future. Nags Head recently sent out 3,000 surveys to residents and property owners, and then there was an open request for people to fill out an online submittal, and it's a town survey asking residents, property owners, business owners, what's important to you? What do you like about the town of Nags Head? What would you like to see change? And we take results from those surveys, and we go in and we look to see what's our strategic plan. Where's Nags Head going to go next? What's important? And I said at the beginning, some of the best ideas don't come from the people sitting up here. It comes from you. There's just 5 of us sitting up here. We have our entire community out there. I think it's important that we listen to them. So those surveys are so important. Andy told us, our manager told us yesterday, that the board will get those results here in the next couple weeks, and I look forward to seeing, according to him and the people that we were working with on the survey, we had a great return rate of those. Not so many on the open call for them, but really got a lot back from the 3,000 that were sent out. So I look forward to seeing what our townspeople had to say and taking that and applying it into our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we'll hear from T. Mike Morrison.
My vision of Nags Head is the beauty that my children got to grow up here. My vision is to protect the heritage of Nags Head so their children will be able to come back here and enjoy it the way it is. I want to fight to keep it. This board has fought to keep it. I'm proud of this board. I'm proud of this town. And Nags Head, as I stated earlier, is a very, very special place, very spiritual. And if I am allowed to serve this town, I will fight to make sure that we preserve the heritage and character, and I will fight to protect it. And I will make darn sure that I take care of everyone that I can, because that's what I've done my whole life.
Thank you, T. Mike. Now we will hear the candidates' closing remarks. We will go in reverse order from our opening statements. We'll begin with Megan Lambert.
Thank you. I think the role of our commissioners is many things. I think commissioners are protectors of our town. They're advocates for their constituents. They're relationship builders. They're stewards. They're problem solvers, and they're leaders. Most importantly, I think commissioners help set the vision and priorities for the town to work towards by incorporating feedback from our community, town staff, and colleagues. I know that I've talked a lot tonight about my experience and why I think that I'm qualified for this role. But what I haven't talked about is my heart and my passion. And while I think that experience is important, it's a necessity, I think that having a heart for our town and having passion to serve our town is just as important. So I want to talk about that for a minute. When I think about Nags Head, I think about everything I've experienced in Nags Head since I've moved here. I've really grown up as an adult in Nags Head. I had my 2 children in Nags Head. I started my business with my husband in Nags Head. My husband and I bought our first property in Nags Head. My husband and I flooded in our home and business in Nags Head. We recovered in Nags Head. And I think when I look back and I think about everything that's happened to me in my adult life, my mature adult life, I think that I've really grown up here, and a lot of good things have happened here, a lot of hard things have happened here, and it's really shaped me and my family into who we are today and will continue to shape us for the future. And that's why my heart is in this, and that's why I'm so passionate to serve Nags Head. I want to give back to a town that I know has given me so much. And I think that that commitment is important for you to see, because it shows how invested I am and how invested I will be when I serve as your next commissioner. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'd also like to thank the League of Women's Voters for hosting this event. I think it's an awesome opportunity for us to engage with one another. I've really enjoyed your questions, and if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'd love to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we'll hear from Kevin Brinkley.
First of all, thank you to the League for hosting an awesome forum, and to you all for taking the time out of your Thursday evening to come here and join us. I appreciate the questions that you had. You know, Megan brings up a good point, the love for Nags Head. You know, I told you I grew up in Manteo, but Nags Head was where my heart was. My first job was at 13 years old at Tell the Well restaurant, bussing tables for Dan and Kathy Bobby. I'm sorry, for Don and Carol Bobby. Dan and Kathy run it now. You know, and I stayed at that job. I had other part-time jobs, renting jet skis and stuff, but I stayed at that job until I started it here at the town, 20 years old. I still waited tables there when I was 18, 19, and then when I started the job here at the town, I left. But I really love Nags Head, and even though I've served y'all for 28 years as a law enforcement officer and 4 years as a board of commissioners, I have more to give to this town, and that's what I want to do. I thought it was going to come up. I didn't say it in my opening, but the priorities. Why am I running? We talked about the multifamily, which I talked about, and then the legacy, keeping Nags Head, Nags Head. The other one is just real quick. Bike and pedestrian safety is very important to my heart. Too many times in my previous occupation, I saw the results of not having adequate infrastructure and people not obeying the traffic laws, motorists as well as people walking and bicycling. So keeping the bike ped at the forefront of, we've done a lot, but there's still more to do. We need to finish the multi-use path in front of Jockey's Ridge from Carolista Drive to Soundside Road. That's in our plan to do. And we need to finish the multi-use path in front of the village of Nags Head. That's really going to be a big tie-in. So I promise to fight. I'm an open book. I'm always willing to talk. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And again, thank you so much for coming out. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we'll hear from T. Mike Morrison.
Again, also, I'd like to thank the league for putting this on and allowing us the opportunity to come up here and speak. I'd like to thank you all. There's a lot of you out there that I've been friends with, that I met by coming down to this beautiful town. I've enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed working here. I enjoy living here. I enjoy playing here. My children grew up here, and they are highly successful because of being brought up in Nags Head and the school system that we are lucky enough to have. Again, thank you very much for coming. I really want to help this town any way I can, and have a great night.
Thank you, T. Mike. Next, we'll hear from Keith Sawyer.
When I think about Nags Head, I think about the times growing up, my early parts of my life, coming down and surfing between the pilings of Jeanette's Pier, spending nights in a pup tent along the beachfront, and to look at all the improvement, the traffic, 2-lane bypass, 2-lane beach road, and see all the development that has occurred. Every time I leave, when I cross the Alligator River Bridge coming back into Dare County, or the Wright Memorial Bridge coming back to Nags Head, I think, thank God I'm back at home again. I spent 6 years in West Virginia in the mountains. Come home every 3 weeks, check on my mother, my brother, but it was nothing like coming back home. It's my passion to live here. It's my passion to serve the town. I'm willing to serve. I just want to put forth all that I have in my heart. My heart is Eastern North Carolina. My heart is in the Outer Banks. My heart is here in Nags Head. I just want to give back. It's been so good to me. My daughter lived on the beach here, and that was her dream. She loved the beach, so I enjoyed being here at the beach. So it's home, and I want to stay here. So I want to serve for the town of Nags Head and for the community.
Thank you, Keith. That concludes the Town of Nags Head Candidate Forum. We wish to thank the candidates for their participation, the voters for their attendance and their questions. We want to thank the Town of Nags Head for the use of their meeting room and for videotaping this forum. We will post the video on our website, lwvdarenc.org, and our YouTube page. The Dare County Current TV channel will broadcast the forum. Check their website for dates and times. I will now turn the meeting back to Courtney Gallup.
This year, we have asked all candidates to participate in the League's online voter guide called vote411.org. This is a one-stop website that voters may use on their phones or on their PCs. Once you key in your address, you can view your ballots, view candidate information, their philosophy statements, social media links, and also their responses to our questions in their own words. There's lots there and more. I'm happy to report that we had 100% participation. All of our candidates responded to the questions at Vote 411. Thank you. This year, Vote 411 will go live, and that will coincide with the early voting start, which is on October 19th. There are 2 more scheduled forums. The dates and times and locations are on this rack card, which you can take as you leave the auditorium. Very important reminders. Please remember this year you will be required to present an acceptable photo ID in order to vote. Again, on the back of this rack card, you can refer to this information. That includes You must have a North Carolina driver's license, a state ID from the DMV. A driver's license is acceptable from another state, or the District of Columbia, or a U.S. territory, or a U.S. passport or passport card. The North Carolina voter ID card is issued by the County Board of Elections. College and state university IDs are approved by the State Board of Elections as well. If you do not have a valid photo ID, you can obtain one from your County Board of Elections prior to the election through the end of the early voting period, which is November 4th. If you have any questions regarding voter ID, please contact the Dare County Board of Elections at 252-475-5630. If you don't have a valid photo ID card on Election Day, you may still vote and have your vote counted by signing an affidavit of reasonable impediment as to why you have not been able to present a valid photo ID. If you have questions again regarding this, please contact the Dare County Board of Elections. Important reminders: the last day to register to vote is October 13th at 5 p.m. We do have registration forms available for you on the rear table. If you miss the voter registration date, you can still register to vote at the one-stop early voting sites. Early voting begins Thursday, October 19th, and runs until Saturday, November 4th in 2 locations: the Dare County Administrative Building in Manio or the Kill Devil Hills Town Hall Building in Kill Devil Hills. The hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 in Manio, Monday through Friday, 10 to 4 in Kill Devil Hills, plus Saturday hours on November 4th are 8 a.m. to 3 at both locations. Concerning absentee voting ballots, they may be requested from now until October 31st by 5 p.m. Absentee ballots must be returned to the Board of Elections by November 7th, Election Day at 5. We do have absentee ballot forms on the back table, or you can certainly request one online from the Board of Elections website. Final reminder, of course, Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th, at your assigned precinct, which happens to be for us Nags headers in this boardroom. Finally, we do encourage you all to consider joining the League of Women Voters, men and women, and we don't discriminate. And the purpose of the League of Women Voters and joining us is that we strive to defend democracy. League of Women Voter membership applications are available on the information table as well. We thank you all for participating and for coming out tonight. I was just honored to be in this role, my first time. Thank you very much, and have a great night.